Why speed is replacing wisdom. Everything is faster now. Decisions are made in seconds. Markets react in milliseconds. Opinions form before questions finish being asked. Speed feels like intelligence, and hesitation feels like failure. Today, the systems shaping the world reward rapid response over thoughtful judgment. To understand why this matters now, we have to examine how speed quietly displaced wisdom and why the ability to act quickly is no longer the same as knowing what should be done. For most of history, wisdom required time. Experience accumulated slowly. Decisions were debated. Consequences unfolded gradually, allowing reflection to shape future choices. Slowness was not a flaw. It was how understanding formed. The time between an event and a response was not empty. It was filled with the work of interpretation, comparison, and judgment. The reveal begins when technology collapses decision time. Algorithms execute instantly. Metrics update continuously. Feedback arrives without delay. In this environment, the fastest response wins attention, profit, and influence. Systems don't ask whether a decision is wise. They ask whether it's quick. At first, this feels like progress. Faster markets appear more efficient. Faster platforms feel more responsive. Faster organizations seem more competitive. Speed becomes a signal of competence, even when outcomes degrade quietly over time. But speed changes behavior. Reflection looks like hesitation. Caution looks like weakness. Decisions are optimized for immediacy, not consequence. When systems reward reaction, thinking becomes a liability. As acceleration compounds, wisdom struggles to survive. Long-term insight cannot compete with instant feedback. Context is flattened. Nuance disappears. What matters most is not whether a decision is right, but whether it arrives first. The unsettling question is not whether speed is useful. It is what happens when speed becomes a definition of intelligence itself. As speed became the dominant currency, the environment around decision-making transformed. Systems stopped rewarding deliberation and began punishing it. The longer someone waited, the more opportunities slipped away. In fast-moving systems, hesitation was interpreted as incompetence, regardless of whether it led to better outcomes. The conflict emerged when rapid response replaced understanding. Algorithms reacted to signals before meaning could be extracted. Markets moved on anticipation rather than evidence. Conversations escalated before facts settled. Speed compressed cause and effect so tightly that reflection became impossible. In these conditions, feedback lost depth. Immediate metrics replaced long-term consequences. A spike in engagement looked like success, even if it eroded trust. A rapid gain looked like intelligence, even if it introduced fragility. Systems celebrated responsiveness while quietly accumulating risk. People adapted instinctively. They learned to speak quickly, act decisively, and move on without revisiting outcomes. Mistakes were no longer lessons. They were noise buried beneath the next decision. Wisdom, which depended on memory and pattern recognition over time, struggled to form. Institutions reinforced the pattern. Faster decisions meant competitive advantage. Faster reactions meant relevance. Slower processes were framed as outdated. Even when speed produced worse results, the pressure to keep up outweighed the cost of being wrong. Emotionally, this created unease. Constant urgency replaced clarity. People felt perpetually behind, chasing signals rather than understanding systems. The pace left no room to ask deeper questions. Why did this work? What did it break? What will it cost later? These questions require time that fast systems are structurally unable to provide. The deeper issue was not that speed existed. It was that speed became the default lens for judging competence. When rapid response is rewarded more than thoughtful restraint, systems drift toward action without insight. The build-up pointed toward a troubling realization. A world optimized for speed does not slow down to correct itself. It accelerates, even when it's heading in the wrong direction. As speed dominated decision-making, its hidden costs began surfacing across every layer of society. Systems moved faster, but understanding lagged behind. Actions multiplied, while insight thinned. The gap between doing and knowing widened until mistakes no longer felt preventable, only inevitable. The conflict intensified when rapid decisions began compounding faster than they could be corrected. Automated responses triggered chains of consequences before humans could intervene. Markets overshot reality. Platforms amplified extremes. Organizations pivoted endlessly, mistaking motion for progress. Speed didn't just reduce wisdom, it drowned it out. In fast systems, memory became a liability. Revisiting past decisions slowed momentum. Reflection threatened velocity. So errors were ignored, reframed, or buried beneath the next cycle of action. Learning flattened into reaction. The future was shaped by immediate feedback, not accumulated understanding. People felt this erosion internally. Confidence became performative. Certainty replaced curiosity. Admitting uncertainty looked weak in environments that rewarded instant answers. Over time, the ability to pause, question, and reconsider began disappearing. Not because it lacked value, but because it carried no immediate reward. Institutions mirrored the pattern. Crisis management replaced long-term planning. Policies reacted to symptoms instead of causes. Speed became a defense against accountability. If decisions moved quickly enough, consequences could be blamed on momentum rather than judgment. Meanwhile, those who benefited most from speed gained quiet dominance. High-frequency actors, algorithmic systems, automated processes unconstrained by fatigue or doubt. Human judgment struggled to compete with entities that never hesitated and never reflected. The build-up reached a critical realization. Speed had not made systems smarter. It had made them brittle. Without time to integrate lessons, errors repeated at scale. The same mistakes arrived faster, harder, and with fewer opportunities to intervene. The danger was not that wisdom disappeared. It was that speed convinced everyone it was no longer necessary. The turning point came when the limits of speed became impossible to ignore. Crises multiplied. Systems reacted flawlessly and still failed. The realization settled in quietly. Acting quickly was not the same as acting wisely. The climax revealed a simple truth. Speed amplifies intent, but it cannot replace judgment. When systems reward velocity above all else, they optimize for reaction, not understanding. Wisdom requires friction. It requires time to observe patterns, absorb consequences, and adjust meaningfully. Out of this realization, a countercurrent began to form. Slowness was revalued. Deliberate pauses were designed into systems. Decisions with long-term impact were insulated from instant feedback. Not everything needed to move at machine speed, especially values. The resolution reframed intelligence itself. Being smart was no longer about reacting first. It was about knowing when not to. Systems that slowed intentionally gained resilience. Leaders who paused regained credibility. Reflection stopped being a weakness and started being a form of strength. The ability to resist the pressure of immediacy, to hold a decision open long enough for understanding to arrive, became recognized as a capacity that machines could not replicate. Speed remained powerful. It always would, but it lost its monopoly on legitimacy. Wisdom reclaimed space, not as nostalgia, but as necessity. In a world that moves faster than thought, the ability to slow down becomes a strategic advantage. Because when speed replaces wisdom, mistakes arrive faster than solutions. And the future belongs not to those who move quickest, but to those who know when to stop. Subscribe to join the journey. Why?